All right, you guys, all right is a word that is overused, right? So you can't even see it, can you? Wow, what a camera. That's elimination. That's assimilation next. I'm going to write anyway, right? No, I'm not. Eliminate. What I have to do is eliminate this camera on this phone. It has to be eliminated. It's useless. It can't even read the EL back there with the focus. So, elimination. That's what we must do with certain things in our life, is get rid of things that we can't use, things that are like this phone. They can't see the board back there. That's the word EL. That stands for God, actually. So let's start with that and pray. All right, God has taught me things through experience, through being involved and having it done on me. Done on me means His Word. His Word has been done on me. It really has. I mean, I didn't ask for it. I was 15 years old when I first received the idea and the understanding from Jesus Christ that He was alive and real and vehement and potent and loving, but so forgiving, loving, gentle. It was done on me. I heard the word that explained how that is, why that is possible even. So I started off today to make a video series, or at least a book here for you on elimination. Elimination, a chapter. We could write a book on elimination, though. Getting rid of things. No more. Absolute destruction and annihilation. That's elimination. If something is to be eliminated, it has to be annihilated. And that's what sin has been done and acted upon by only one thing, only one person, only one being, only one way for that to happen. And so that's what our body does. It does it. It has an elimination system, as you know. Since you were a youngster, your mother took care of, or your father, or your caregiver of your adopted family, of your body's elimination of your digestive system. And the first tarry substance, meconium, it is called, comes out of us when we're a child, when we're born, when we're an infant, not a child. When we are newborn, not an infant and not a child, but a newborn. Each of us have eyes that you can see are white, but many times you'll see eyes of folks whose whites are yellow. And this is jaundice, is the name for it. And I'd like to look up the origin words and speak out of knowledge, because I like to find origins. Origins are important. And jaundice, I remember learning about that word and where it originated from. But our eyes become yellow, and sometimes our teeth can become yellow. So if we look at the pictures from diabetes to jaundice to yellowing, from liver dysfunction, from our categories of pathologies today, man, we really want to get down to basics. We really want to find out, what can we do? What can we do to eliminate these diseases from our life? And the first thing, the only thing truly that eliminates disease is complete function of our bodies. And the first function of our bodies is elimination. That tarry substance of a newborn, is called a merconium, MERCONIUM. And if we don't eliminate it, our eyes become yellow, our tissues can become yellow, and it's from the bilirubin of the of the bloodstream. The bowel and the liver are in close proximity to one another and share ducts, a tube that disallows your body, when you can't eliminate the waste from the liver, backed up into the bloodstream they go. And so backed up into the liver they go. And heart disease and diabetes are definite relationship to our blood and the components that are in it. And it's the liver's job to manage the elimination of blood solutes, of blood bacteria, of blood waste materials that the body cannot and should not use. Dead cells, dead cell debris, from bacteria to viral components, from immune dysfunction, all of these things your body naturally does. Now, when science studies it, they put names to it, but what we look at is elimination. Elimination. Every human looks at it. And science has started with the third or tertiary function of the body. And that we'll get to in a second. But before it can occur, yes, science starts with reproduction, the third function of the body. Looking at dysfunction, we speak of elimination. So you function, and assimilation. Nutrients are uptake into your tissues. So if you don't have materials of the first original paleo, Hebrew, and world diet of what people ate and how people learned from wisdom and understanding and knowledge, that certain people who were chosen to receive this knowledge and were the first people, and it was passed on. And we have to look at, guys, look at yourself. I mean, look at me. There's nothing like a human being, or even a dog or a horse or an animal. So look at you. I mean, please understand that you didn't just come out of the dirt, which, you did. Yeah. And a tree come out of the dirt, and a giraffe come out of the dirt, and a lion and an antelope and a deer and a bear come out of the dirt. The first bear. And as we look at the incredible amount of abilities that we have, there is no way that you evolved from animals into what you are today. There isn't a way. There isn't a way. There is not a way for you to evolve species, to jump species. It's impossible. It's impossible. Darwin wrote The Origin of the Species by being paid to write it. On his deathbed, he told his story. Please read that. Please find that and read that in history today of Darwin's deathbed experience. You'll find out that he himself was paid to write that material, and he reneged it. It was a philosophy of one man. I mean, nobody else in the world thought of something so far-fetched, so far away from the norms of who you are as a human being, to understand you have authority and structure over animals. They look at you, and voices something they can't right now do. And they, many times, can hear angels who do have the ability to speak with voices. I have seen the animals react to nature, even cats and dogs. They're looking around. I saw a lion attacking or preparing to attack to protect her little cubs, while a man filmed it with his camera above his head like this. He was waving his arm. He was holding his camera up and waving his other arm. And as you do that, that cat doesn't know what that black thing is in your hand, and never seen one of those before, never heard your voice go, no, back, and scream at that animal. So you have to face them, and you cannot turn your back on any of those animals. Now a bear's going to come at you regardless, and you do have to have, but a lion, I heard while she was protecting her young, I heard the man talking and screaming and saying things, not in fear, but in total respect and total honor of himself and her. So I saw the lion turn its head twice into the forest along the cut road that this man was walking on in Utah, in the mountains. And he survived and lived to show and tell a story, because as that lion looked to the right twice, 2 or 3 times, maybe even 4, it was alerted by, you could tell the interaction from that lion to that man, and we're watching it as real. He's out in the wild. Something occurred in that lion's mind to cause it to turn like it did, and then to run off. I do believe that that boy, that man, that young 20-some-year-old college graduate, or still in college, or still in high school, or just graduated from high school or college, one of the two, was able to be protected by angels. He seemed to have a blessing of his friends around him. He did a video on this. It's on YouTube, and I'm sure you'll find it if you searched for lion, mountain lion, Utah. It was on the news. He was interviewed and everything. It was really a good wholesome experience with his own posting of how creatures are, what we are, and it's amazing. Like, if it was evolution, once we became men, wouldn't all things be men? I mean, hey, well, just some of them decided to stay back and be giraffes, and some of them decided to stay back and be orangutans. Dude, I mean, you are in the image of the greatest. You have a mouth that speaks. You have the ability to change the shape of your head by fixing your hair. You have all kind of things that you do that animals don't do. So we're into this pretty deep here, and I know it's long-winded, but my goal is to help you to understand that you can do things for yourself with assimilation of nutrients that you have not ever touched. That God says, God, the Almighty, wonderful. Oh boy. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 29, given to you and I through Moses' writing of the experiences of his ancestors, from Elijah and Enoch, from those who came before him who wrote things down. So we have these videos right now to write a lot of things down, and hopefully, this information will be weeded through and picked to make a book. And all of you out there, you are so welcome to write a book too on this information. I would dearly desire you dearly to write in belief and understanding of God giving us these abilities and this catechism, whatever that word means. It means to me an organized presentation of God's gifts to us that we can use for everyday use and for purposes that are beyond our own, for others like us who would like to hear function of life and what's really going on. All right, so Things have to be eliminated. Things die. And when they die, you have to eliminate them from your environment or they become very stinky. And so God has a way of us dealing with our dead bodies. And right now I have to tell you that every year that you live, your body dies inside and outside, on your skin, in your organs. And where do those cells go? Like you see, tumors growing in people's bodies. They become hardened tissues of calcification and tumor growth. Tumors use materials from your own body and if they're not there and they're eliminated prior to the opportunity for them to harden or coalesce into tumors or calcification, these are cell debris of your cells that die, of your liver, your spleen, your pancreas. Every 5 months, man. Every 3.5 years. Every 7 years, everything in your body, including your bone, dies and reproduces new. Where do those tissues go? Every 7 years, every bit of hard rib and hard cranium, these and your brain, these die every 7 years. Every bone in your body is reproduced in 7 years. And where do those bones go? How do you eliminate them? Through oils and gas and liquids and solids. Well, eliminate is the key word, is the key experience, is what you do. And in Genesis chapter 1, verse 29 is assimilation. And that's what I was saying are the first two functions. And you can't assimilate until you eliminate. You have to be seriously, fully experiencing and knowing and understanding what Genesis 1:29 means when it tells you that God has given you for function. The word there is sustenance, for sustenance, to sustain you. And sustaining you is to sustain you. You eliminate carbon dioxide. Every time you breathe out, you eliminate waste materials along with that CO2. You take in oxygen, and when that oxygen is impure from traffic and carbons and disease and death all around us and COVIDs, and COVID stands for covert ID. It was a coronavirus, but COVID is covert ID. How do we get that without knowing? How does the coronavirus turn into COVID? Right? It stands for covert ID. So we have to eliminate death from our life. Viral components are death themselves. They destroy life. Bacteria can do that as well, but bacteria can aid in life. And oxygenated bacteria, in our bowel, and non-oxygenated material in our organs and our tissues, in our glands, in our tonsils of our mouth are removed because of infection of bacteria. Infection, I mean too much of one bacteria versus another. The anaerobic kind, the ones that do not use oxygen, are anaerobic. The ones that use oxygen are aerobic. And so these balance in your body in right places and right locations. So Genesis chapter 1 verse 29 says, I have given you, God, Yahweh, has given you every, bump, and what are the words there? Bump, He's given you every blank of the blank for sustenance. Sustenance, to sustain you, to give you a future and a hope, to give you assimilation, and to increase sustenance to sustain you is function. Elimination and assimilation will happen when you put it in your mouth for food, for sustenance, for provision. to sustain you, to give you strength. These were understood and experienced years ago with foods that were natural and of the earth. So we can look at the understanding of, outhouses, being clean in our body. We weren't as clean years ago. Now it's time to get really clean and to understand what cleanliness is when the earth around us is really dirty. So I just wanted to share with you these things on function before any of you take on a work that I am going to do with you to teach you that you can do with this first diet, with what God has given us. And elimination, assimilation, and then reproduction of our cells, where science starts. We must increase the functions of our body so that our cells reproduce properly. The first two functions are what you put in your mouth that create elimination, the first function, and what you put in your mouth will happen. Secondarily and necessarily is assimilation. Once you put something in here, it has to be dispersed throughout the body. So I hope this isn't boring, and maybe some of you will take the time to watch it thoroughly. And there is a test. So we want you to remember elimination. Elimination is the first function of the body. Assimilation is the second function of all of your tissues. And then your cells reproduce, grow, and then adapt to. After they reproduce, they grow. Every 5 months, a new liver. Every 3.5 years, a new brain and spinal cord and nerves. They only last for 3 years. All the cells in your nervous system and all of the bone cells, 7 years. They only last for 7 years. And they have to be eliminated out of the body. So how does this happen? You have to see your body eliminate urine, a complete, straight, long stream, not dribbling later, and finding how God provides these messages in Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. Messages are in the DNA, right? How the plants and you and I and animals reproduce ourselves is through what's called cellular function. But, a sperm cell, not a cell, a sperm, one swimmer man, and you can call him a cell with a tell. He tells what's going to happen, and it is part of our body. And the information in human beings for us to reproduce is not like once we are a human, our body reproducing new cells. It is incredible. As a whole human who is reproducing, reproduces what he is. After his kind, you never see a jumping of species now, and you didn't see one then. You didn't ever. No one has ever, and I can tell you that the first man was in communication with his maker, and a deep sleep definitely came upon him, and out of the dirt a man came. So how much more could a woman come out of a formed man, his rib, in a deep sleep, and a woman come up? That makes more sense to me, because here you come, two people together, and you make another human that you see daily, right? Every day, thousands upon thousands are born in the state of California alone. In each state, in each province, wherever we live, thousands upon thousands, millions. How many die each day, and how many live? How many are born with their first tarry substance coming out of their planet on the backside, on their backside, their planet on their backside? So may you, Uranus, and that's the planet, right? So you may find peace and your cells to continue to reproduce. So there is a test. The 5 functions are called the 5 signs of life in chiropractic philosophy and old naturopathic medical texts. So the philosophy, the way that you think about who you are, is done by hand. I mean, you eat by your hands, you eat by your brain and who you are. Chiro means, right, hand. Chiral means handedness. You have a right and a left, and they meet together, and they make a perfect union. Your right side of your brain and your left side of your brain, it's amazing, are balanced. They're chiral. They're right side and the left side. And that's your hand. Your head is your, spiritual hand. No, you're the spirit. Your spirit is your spiritual hand. But your soul, which is your mind, your emotions, and your will, your will is in the frontal lobe. It's in brain tissue. Whatever you decide to do, there's nothing stronger than the will of a human. Even God's not going to overtake your will. Your will, what you choose, what you want to do, you need to be in touch with and work that will under the will of almighty truth and things that are here for you. I mean, there's a big differentiation, isn't there, between evolutionary experience of you coming into being and a creator, God, that you're made in the image of. And every lion and tiger and bear have an assimilation to what it means to have a kingdom, a phylum and a species. You never see them jump. And you have to look at Sound Waves. Sound Waves by Bruce Lipton at California Berkeley University, will give you that so that you can believe. There's sound waves coming out of heaven. How can you believe what you are? You can look inside. Oh, it's all inside of you. Where at inside? Yeah, and the bloodstream flowing is life. My goodness. And so how could we see the death of a lamb years ago and say, well, who started that? Who would do that? When it makes so much sense to see Jesus Christ, yours truly, our Allah becomes Jesus Christ. Yep. And Allah has a heavenly Father. See, complete knowledge and complete prophecy is complete with your blood that is here in your body, already poured out. I'm recording in my van, and I'm parked in a place because I can't move the van. And I thank you guys for listening and paying attention to elimination, assimilation, reproduction, and growth of new body parts, new organ tissues. And those of you who are going to spend this half an hour here, I know it's a lot, and we're actually just going to go 45 minutes. All right, 50 minutes. Because that's about the gist of a human being having the ability to hang in there. Now, I'd rather be with you in public, in person, that I could have interaction with you. This is really boring, and I don't really know who's going to watch this the whole way. Because I can't get out there the grace and the power that God has for us and the love that God has for us. And there's a lot of interruptions in this van right now, And I thank you, God, and I thank you, friends who are with me and, motivate me and encourage me to actually go ahead and do this. But my camera and everything don't work very well. Elimination, assimilation, reproduction of cells. But guess what's happening before? Guess what? When I was little, I had brothers, and they would always say, guess what?